Hello, everybody out there, and welcome to another edition of Bolts Breakdown. Bryan Burns, beat writer for Tampa Bay Lightning.com. Recher 95.3 WDAE. A lot of big news here in the Tampa Bay area. I was just watching the WrestleMania announcement, so that's coming to Tampa Bay in April 5th of 2020. So a lot of good things. We got the Women's Final Four coming up here in just a couple of weeks. We got the Super Bowl in 2021. But the big news here in Tampa Bay is this team that we talk about a lot here on Bolts Breakdown, the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Bryan Burns joining me here. You know what? They play a tough team against the Winnipeg Jets on Tuesday night. And you know what? There was some people worried about the size and the physicality of that team and how the Lightning were going to be able to stand up to the pressure. And Burnsy, they did a pretty good job of doing that.
Yeah, I thought it was one of Tampa Bay's best games of the season.
For sure.
Felt like, and yesterday during practice, after the guys were in the locker room, talked to Victor Hedman, Rick Peckham, and I were talking to him, just about that effort. If they, from our eyes, it looked like a really good game from the Lightning. If the players felt the same way, and Hedman said, for about 58 minutes, they played pretty much perfect, and it was exactly how they want to play against a team like that. Got away from them a little bit towards the end of the game, maybe with about 4 minutes to go. I know Cedric Paquette, poor guy, he took 4 penalties in that game, and I don't know that any of the 4 were warranted. It seemed like every penalty was someone cross-checking him in the neck from the back or punching him in the middle of a scrum, and said he's doing absolutely nothing, and then he gets thrown to the box. And then he got, the extra penalty tacked on that last one that Winnipeg was able to score a very fluky power play goal on, the one that hit off the stanchion when Vazzy was expecting the puck to rim around and he was going to play it behind the net. But other than, a couple, they gave up a few too many chances there towards the end, maybe gave Winnipeg a little bit of a belief that they could possibly come back and tie that game. But other than that, it was a really, really good effort from the Lightning. Both goals that they gave up came on the power play for Winnipeg, but obviously I talked about the first one was a very fluky goal. The first goal that they scored I thought was kind of fluky as well. It was the Lightning had a 2-on-1 shorthanded break, really good opportunity that they could have gone ahead 2-0 there. But the pass across was in the skates. I think it was Gord and Sorelli maybe on that 2-on-1. I think the pass was in their skates. Winnipeg was able to turn that around pretty quickly. McDonough blows an edge, and suddenly you're looking at a 3-on-1 for Winnipeg that they were able to convert easily. So it went, in 5 seconds, it went from potentially 2-0 Lightning with all the momentum in the world to a 1-1 game, and now we've got a little bit of a contest. But I thought the Lightning did a really good job of recovering from that, dominated that game throughout, kept the puck. We're on top of Winnipeg. After the game, I saw comments from Mark Scheifele, and I'm like, wait a minute. I forgot Mark Scheifele was playing in that game. I didn't even remember him being in that game. There were guys.
They shut him down.
Yeah, the fourth line did an unbelievable job on really eliminating that top scoring threat from Winnipeg, and just a really complete win from the Lightning.
Do you see that more? And this is Bryan Burns, Recher here with you on Bolts Breakdown. We always want to hear from you guys. Where are you watching Bolts Breakdown from? Put it there on the screen where you're watching from. Also share this on your Facebook. Let us know, and also give us a shout. Ask us any questions that you have, and we'll do our best to answer them. You mentioned the fourth line there. I think Braden Point was charged with going against the other team's best players for a while, but I think now that he's settled in with that line with Johnson and Kucherov, now you have a third and fourth line in Sorelli's line, in Paquette's line, so now you kind of free up Point's line a little bit more to be not going against those, especially at home. You don't have to match them up with the top lines all the time, and I think it frees them up for a little bit more scoring.
Yeah, I mean, when you can have 4 lines like that, that are rolling, and that's the thing that John Cooper talked about today, was it's not just that you can put that fourth line out there and it can munch some minutes, but it's that you feel comfortable putting them out there in any situation, that you can put them out there on a Scheifele line, and you feel comfortable that they're going to be able to get the job done, and it's not going to be a situation. Well, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't even think about it.
It's just, I know what you mean, though. It's not. It's like you're putting them out there, and they're not going to be able to provide anything offensively, or they're going to be kind of throwing them to the wolves, kind of thing. Like, here you go try to survive and tread water against these other top lines in the game.
Yeah. So I thought that fourth line was key, and I thought Cedric Paquette, first shift of the game, really had a big hit. Came in the corner, completely legal hit, just finishing his check, but it was a big hit.
Yeah.
And it seemed like Winnipeg, for the remainder of the game, were just intent on trying to retaliate against Paquette, and I think that's why you saw some of those scrums after the whistle. And unfortunately, Seti was kind of thrown in the box on a lot of those where I thought Winnipeg initiated it, and Paquette really did nothing to warrant going into the box. But I thought that hit, Ernie also had a big hit on that first shift of the game. I thought that really set a tone, just how physical that line was going to be. And really good to see Matthew Joseph kind of regain some of that speed. And that was, a big part of his game early in the year. It's been a little bit missing, I feel like, for the last month and a half or so. You have to wonder, rookie, young guy in the league, if he's used to playing this many games, condensed schedule. They're not used to playing at 82, so maybe if he's getting kind of his second win now in his freshman campaign.
Yeah, and it's got to be tough too, getting in and out of the lineup sometimes. That inconsistent playing time. Some guys it affects more than others. Shout out to Robert Guest, Tim McCardle, Tim Geisler, Devin Parker, watching from South Haven, Mississippi. I actually coached a baseball tournament in South Haven, Mississippi, very close to Memphis. One of my favorite places on this in this country, on this planet. Jerry from Bradenton, what is going on? And a couple people asking about clinching tonight. So, Bernsey, we were talking about this in the elevator on the way up. Give us the scenarios that the Lightning can clinch a playoff spot tonight. This is where it is. This is the official word right here.
Yeah, so we kind of had this figured out yesterday, but we were waiting for confirmation from the NHL, and they did come up with another scenario where we could clinch that we hadn't gotten. But so Lightning clinch tonight if they win tonight, get their 2 points. And if Columbus loses in regulation or Montreal loses in regulation. So Columbus, I believe, is in Pittsburgh. That's a 7 p.m. puck drop. So we should know what Columbus does
by the end of this game.
By the end of the Lightning game. Unfortunately, Montreal's out in San Jose, so we might have to wait till like 2 o'clock in the morning to figure out that result.
Wait a second. So we're pulling for the Penguins tonight? Is that what we're saying?
I guess so. Stranger things have happened, right?
Oh, Lord.
Speaking of which, there were 4 Penguins fans at the game last.
So random. They were so random.
Right
and
up
I think
on the glass, too.
Right?
Yeah, that resonated with people. People are not happy about seeing jerseys that aren't affiliated with anybody in the game in the arena, which that kind of boggles my mind, too. Like, why do you wear a Penguins jersey to a Lightning Jets game? Makes no sense.
I don't know. I wore a White Sox hat one time to a Mets Braves game, so
I mean, whatever.
Hat's a little different
than wearing a complete jersey. I mean, these guys are all decked out and right on the front glass. So, whatever floats your boat.
Without a doubt.
But hold on, there's another situation too. Yeah.
Another situation.
So if the Lightning only get a point tonight, and you have Montreal and Columbus lose in regulation tonight. They both have to lose in regulation. The Lightning get a point. That's another way the Lightning can clinch tonight. Montreal plays Columbus a little bit later in the season, so one of those teams is going to lose a point there. So that's why if both those teams lose in regulation, the Lightning can still clinch with a point tonight. So pretty good chance that you're going to see the Lightning clinch their second straight playoff berth, 5th in the last 6 seasons, and 11th overall. Tonight. And if it's not tonight, I mean, we pretty much know it's a foregone conclusion. Without so if not tonight, probably Saturday.
So you heard it from Bernsey here first. The Lightning can clinch a playoff spot if the Columbus Blue Jackets lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins or the Montreal Canadiens lose to the San Jose Sharks. That's, counting on a Bolts victory tonight. Or if the Bolts only get 1 point and both of those teams lose in regulation. So we'll mention that again before the end of the show here on Bolts Breakdown. Bryan and Jay here with you. We always want to hear from you. If you have any questions, let us know there at the bottom of the screen. Bernsey, another thing, somebody was asking about resting Vasilevsky. I don't know with him missing that month of the season if they're going to necessarily have to rest him, but he's on the precipice of some history tonight as well.
Yeah, you could tie Louis Domingue's record for consecutive victories, which Louis set obviously earlier this season. First time in NHL history that you've had 2 goalies on the same team in the same season with win streaks of 10 or more. So that's, add that on to the ever-expanding list of Lightning accomplishments this year and records that they've set.
It's crazy.
I expect Vasilevsky, we have 15 games left here in the regular season. I think we have 2 more back-to-backs left. I think Vasilevsky starts 13 more games and Domingue gets 2. And I think, like you said, that month that he had to sit out, you look at where his totals are now. I think he's only maybe like 40-some games so far this year. Yeah. He was at like 65 last year, so he's still is not anywhere close to that pace that he was at last year. And he admitted, towards the end of that season that he was feeling a little bit fatigued with all the games that he had been starting. I don't really feel like that's the case this year. I think they're going to try to get him as much action as possible going into the playoffs so he can be sharp and ready to go.
Without a doubt, and I wouldn't be surprised, too, if there's some kind of weird extenuating circumstance where they play on like a Monday or something like that where, maybe the flight gets in late and they'll go, we'll go with Louis here too. So you never know. That could be one of those things that might change kind of, not at the last minute, but maybe day of or the day before. I'm sure that the Lightning have a pretty good plan of, looking at the schedule, looking ahead and seeing how many games Vasi and Louis Domingue are going to get. But it's going to be pretty entertaining regardless who's in net. This team is so fun to watch, and you're getting contributions up and down the lineup. Burnsy, you get the defenseman with all those goals last Saturday, and then Tuesday night you get all of the goals from, it seems like, the fourth line. I know some top guys got some goals as well, but you're getting contributions, and you look at the depth, and you talk about all the things that separate this Lightning team from everybody else. To me, the goaltending's great, the defense is good, but the depth and being able to get goals from anywhere, I mean, that to me is what is really going to help them come playoff time, because when you have those other teams that are really good defensively and have top-notch goaltenders, you're not going to see Cooch and Stammer and Point be the only guys scoring. You need Gord and Ernie and Joseph and, that secondary scoring. And, we talked about a guy the other night, that we've mentioned on Bolts Breakdown Tuesday afternoon, was people were asking about Andre Palat, and we said not to worry about the points. He's not the guy that is, that's not how you're going to assess his play. But what did you see in that first goal the other night, that beautiful stretch pass up the middle, and that kind of just showed you, hey, Andre Palat, he's just such a good player. He may not be the most flashiest guy on the squad, but he is a guy that every single night is going to play his heart out. And when he does something like that, it's like, he's got some offensive skills as well.
Yeah, he was doing an awesome, unbelievable job of retrieving pucks early on in that game. And I even, after the first period, I had, kind of marked him down as a potential, we do 3 stars in the game, as a potential star. I also, Anthony Cirelli, he had a really good shift there in the second period. I was like, all right, Cirelli, you're down. And then by the end of the game, it's like this whole team has played well. How do you determine who are your 3 stars out of an 18, 20 guys you could pick from in that game that played really well and were deserving of some kind of recognition. But Andre Palat, he quietly, he's been putting up some assists here. I think he has 8 over his last 11 or 12 games, something like that. Like you said, just a really heady pass right up the ice for Yanni Gord to skate into the zone. And I thought that first goal was key. They had a couple good hits early on, and then you get Yanni Gord to score that goal. I think it was 1:30 into the game. I thought that was a really good start for the Lightning, and a really good just kind of sent a message to Winnipeg that this is going to be a tough night for them.
Bryan Burns, Jay Recher here with you on Bolts Breakdown. Make sure you follow Burnsy at BBurnsNHL. You can follow me at Jay Recher. Let's look forward to tonight's game against the visiting Minnesota Wild. They got a couple of guys still on the ice for morning skate right now. It looked like they had a pretty full skate today. We saw pretty much their entire team out there a little bit earlier before. But Burnsy, what's your 3 goals or 3 keys to victory for the Bolts tonight?
Number 1 for me is I just want to see that same effort from the Winnipeg game. That I want to see that against Minnesota tonight. I thought, the 5 or 6 games prior to that Winnipeg game, I thought were a little bit uneven for the Lightning. They'd have periods, maybe for the first period against the Rangers, where they, showed signs of dominating. And then they just kind of went away for a little bit, and wanted to see that just consistent 60-minute effort, and I really thought we saw that against Winnipeg. So I want to continue to see that tonight against Minnesota. Number 2 for me is continue to get the defensemen involved. I was looking at some stats in the last, on a 10-game win streak when defensemen combined have 2 or more points. So if you can get those guys involved, we saw it the other night where they were able to get 4 goals. The team that they played is escaping me. Who did they play the other night where they scored 4 goals? Was it the Ottawa game?
Oh, Ottawa on Saturday night.
The 5-1 victory. Yeah. 4 of those goals come from the defensemen. I really feel like if you can get those guys involved, they can really drive the offensive effort, take maybe some of the pressure off Kucherov, Stamkos, and Point. And then also get some of the the fourth liners, the Gords, the Cirellis, those guys, gets them involved too. And number 3 for me is just another fast start for this team. I think is going to be there for this team if they're able to capitalize. Minnesota's -10 in the first period this season, goal differential-wise. The Lightning are +24. So obviously the Lightning a little bit better at starting games. I think a fast start tonight, they can get on top of Minnesota, and they'll be able to stay on top.
Shout out to Bobby from Brazil and Kara Johnson. Also Robert Guest. We appreciate you guys watching us. My one guy to watch tonight, Zach Parise, a guy that has been in this league for a long time, whether it was coming up with the Devils or here with the Minnesota Wild. He's a guy that is going to try to will this team to victory. They're dealing with some injuries. Dumba's out. Who is the other guy? Rask is out. Koivu's out. So that's three pretty big players for them that are not going to be in the lineup tonight. And the Lightning, relatively healthy right now, knock on wood. They're doing pretty good as of that. But Minnesota, you're playing these teams that are kind of fighting for their playoff lives. They're trying any way to get into the playoffs. I mean, once you get in there, it's really a crapshoot. Whoever can get in, you have a chance to win, like we saw a couple years ago with L.A. winning it from the 8 seed. But I look at a guy like Kevin Fiala as well tonight, a long-time depth forward for the Nashville Predators, who's always done a good job. He actually scored for the Wild against his former team the other night. And then Ryan Suter, who's very similar to a guy like Ryan McDonough, just a real solid defenseman all the way around. And you know what, I was looking at the last 2 games here, Bernsey, and shout out to Ryan Dunn from Madison, Wisconsin, and my man Chris Longtime going with Cooch with the first goal tonight. Before the game, or after morning skate the other day, Winnipeg guys wanted to talk to Ryan McDonough, and then obviously him being from the Minnesota area, talking to some of the guys tonight. But it's almost like, I think, early on in the season we talked about how good Ryan McDonough was, but as the year goes on, you look at the respect that he gets from other teams, and I don't know if it's because of how good of a player he's been, or because he's a veteran, or because he was the captain of the Rangers, which is in itself really impressive. But it's just cool to see a guy like that be here in Tampa Bay, and to just realize that he's here, but you also have Victor Hedman, and you also have other guys. So he's not just a guy that's doing it on his own. He's just a piece of the puzzle. And I'm not trying to demean him in any way, but it's just great that you have other superstars to go around a guy that in some ways is underrated, but also very appreciated throughout the league.
Yeah, I think he is pretty underrated, especially for what he's been able to do with this Lightning team this year. And I think he's really solidified that blue line. And you look at him being locked up for a while now. Hedman's locked up under contract with this team for a while. Burgeoning star with Chernak. Mikhail Sergachev. I mean, I think the Lightning blue line's in really good shape here for years to come. I know they have some guys coming up, and unrestricted free agency status with Stralman, Girardi, and Coburn. Be interesting to see what they do during the offseason as far as extending contracts, whether those guys come back. But I think that core 4 guys I mentioned earlier, that's a really good start, looking for next year and beyond for what this Lightning blue line is going to look like. And with Ryan McDonough, he's really become, to me, he's become that like Brian Boyle, like voice in the locker room, the guy that you go to if you need a good quote, or you really want someone smarter than you to break the game down and really like kind of open your eyes to maybe some things that you don't see. And I thought he was really good after the Boston loss, just breaking down exactly why they weren't really able to get much going offensively. And, stand-up guy, credit to him, comes out, had already showered. I know some other writers had wanted to talk to McDonough. It was kind of late him coming back in the locker room, but, got dressed and came up, a stand-up guy, talked to all the media. Was very polite, could have been, a bit standoffish or a bit short with his answers after, a pretty disappointing loss for the Lightning that night. But, fielded everyone's questions, took his time, was introspective. It was just very interesting, and I got a lot out of it, listening to him that night, and just continue. I think he's going to be my go-to guy whenever I need someone to kind of be a little bit smarter and know what they're talking about, because sometimes I don't.
What's the story on TampaBayLightning.com today, buddy?
Yeah, just I think that effort, against Winnipeg was one of the best we've seen from the Lightning in, a little bit of time, especially, as I mentioned, the 5 games before, a little bit of uneven play. So just kind of breaking down what was good in that game, what the Lightning liked from that game, and how they can continue to use that template going forward here over these last 15 regular season games.
Brian Burns, beat writer for TampaBayLightning.com. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at BBurnsNHL. You can follow the team at TB Lightning. Go to TampaBayLightning.com for all the best news and notes. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Recher. Follow the station at 95.3 WDAE. Go to 95.3WDAE.com for the best Bolts coverage. The game tonight will be on Fox Sports Sun, and as always, on the radio, up the dial on our sister station, News Radio WFLA. That's going to wrap it up for you and I. I think we're back in action, Monday?
Yeah, Monday. It'll be a road game, I think.
You going on the road?
I will not be on this road trip, so we'll be doing it from the studio.
Sounds good, man. And I actually have a Lightning watch party on Monday at American Social. So
nice.
That's going to be a pretty crazy game, that's for sure. All right, guys. Hope everybody enjoys the game. If you're coming here to Amalie Arena, make sure you guys be the Thunder, be loud and proud. And then Saturday's game against the Detroit Red Wings, that should be a fun one as well. We'll see you guys next Monday. That's Brian. I'm Jay. We'll see you next time right here on Bolts Breakdown.